Welcome to Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times, presented by Worth Wealth Management, a weekly conversation with area leaders about how to persevere during uncertain times. Now here's your host, Gary Shorman.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times with our guest today, Kris Munsch. And there's so many things, Kris, that we could start and talk about the adventures of Kris Munsch. But we'll start out with talking a little bit about you and I have been doing this program for a few times, and each one kind of leads to something different that we talk about. And you're all over because you not only do have business in town, you've multiple businesses, you're real building homes. You have 30 years of experience in the construction industry, 20 years of home inspecting. You've been in higher education, but most recently, you're a published author and kind of what I'll say, kind of your second book, actually, correct?
It is my second book.
So, Kris, before we get started, I want to talk about what you're doing in Hays because you have Restore and Clean. I don't say that project is complete, but you ended up getting another project called Motor Social. What the heck is Motor Social?
Well, it's another one of those things my wife told me that I should have leave well enough alone, but I just don't have the ability to leave well enough alone because that's just with the world. You live in it too, right? You see an opportunity, and we've talked about it. We've mentioned opportunity it's everywhere, and opportunity also equals work. And how are you going to do it? That's what my wife always says. When in the world are you going to work on this? And you just learn as an entrepreneur, a business person, a person that loves doing a lot of different things, the challenge of building it, right? And there's a need. I think there's a need for it. And Motor Social is an idea that, so I had a shop down on Milner Street come vacant, and I listed the shop for rent on Marketplace like everybody else does. And the more I worked and cleaned up in there and got it kind of back in order and got everything, the more I started pondering this idea. And somebody actually sent me a quote the other day, which is, a garage isn't a building. It's a sanctuary where broken things and sometimes broken people get rebuilt. And I'm going to paint that quote on the wall. I don't know who said it, but I'm telling you, that is the environment of Motor Social, right? 3 bays. You can become a member of Motor Social. There'll be 3 bays. 2 bays will be just open bays with floor jacks, basic tools, the ability to bring a car in, whether you want to change the oil, change, a starter, do those kinds of things. And because I really want a car lift in there, I worked with the insurance and trying to figure out how could we get this to where we could have a car lift, right? Because a car lift most people don't have a car lift at home in their garage. Mm-hmm. And so how can we create a space where, and so I worked through and figured out some ways we can have a car lift in the 3rd bay. And then there'll be a gathering space area where people that are members can come in and pop open an old shop manual, Google some repairs. And the concept is you bring your vehicle in, and whether you want to just stand there and look at it and grunt with your friends but what that does is it creates conversation. And that's something we don't have a lot of these days, is conversation, right? I mean, I love going to the donut shop on Saturday mornings, and when you pull in there, they've already got this big, long table set up, and all these guys come in there and they hang out and they shoot the crap and talk about the weather and the politics and the election, and they might talk about an old car, but what if you created a space where they could come in and talk about old cars and have that conversation? And if somebody's struggling to do something or they're trying to figure something out, can you imagine the years of experience that would be in that room with you to give you some background and some knowledge to make a repair on your car? That's what it's going to all be about.
It sounds to me like there's the deeper aspect of that is that ability. Sometimes when you fix something, it also fixes your soul, because something that didn't work before now works. And to me, it's like, yes, I've got it done. I don't care what it is, but you get that feeling. And bringing a group of people So this may not be a man cave, it may be a men cave where
Oh,
you have a group of people getting together. So I don't know if you want to put that on the wall, Kris, but it is a men cave because you have a chance to get together. Not that ladies can't come and fix
yep,
their car as well, but the
yep.
idea is a place you can go to fix things and including fix yourself. So what's your starting date for that? And then we have so many things to talk about, Kris, and so little
I,
time. So when
I
do you
don't,
start
I
that?
don't have one. I'm not going to have an open date till I know it's ready. I'm still gathering license plates and things. And my wife got on the Amazon. She got on our Amazon account the other day, and she said, "Why is there an order on Amazon for 15,000 and some dollars?" I'm like, "Oh,
Oh,
did you see that?"
oh, oh,
so
yeah.
so I'm working through, and yeah, just gathering. And right now, I'll be honest with you, as a business owner and as an entrepreneur, it's easy to get sidetracked on doing other things, right? And so what I did was, I decided to step back and finish. Because sometimes I have trouble finishing stuff, right? I'm a dreamer and a mover and a shaker. So, but I stepped back because I'm approaching the 20th anniversary of my son Blake's death, and I will have my second book ready to go. It's written. The photos have been inserted, and I sent it to my to the young lady who's helping me get that into a form for the book, so we can get it uploaded and get that book for sale. So I stopped 2 weekends in a row, the last 2 weekends, and I just focused on getting that done, and it is done.
Well, Kris, congratulations for that. But I want to dive in, and this may be a little deeper than we actually go on most shows, but the 20th anniversary of your son's death.
Yeah.
I talk in some groups where I'll talk to people about forks in the road, and we all have different forks in the road that we've had that sort of bring us to the spot where we are today. This program, everything fork in the road brings us to this sort of point. Hundreds, several big ones, but a lot of little ones get us here. Your son's death was definitely a fork in the road for you, and it has led to all sorts of different things. But a 20th anniversary, that has to not only hurt in your heart,
Yeah.
but make your heart feel like I've done some things in that whole time period that have made a difference for others.
Yeah. And I think the hardest part of that, Gary, is that, and it's hard not to get emotional, but I had to learn all my lessons because my son died. And there's so many other easier ways to learn lessons in life, right?
Oh,
But
yeah.
and I traveled around the country for quite a while presenting, and wrote the Birdhouse Project and presented that all over the country. And there was a day I was driving home from Dallas. I had just I was a keynote speaker at a conference there, and it just dawned on me that I didn't want to be a bereaved dad, and I didn't want to be that fork in the road. I didn't want any of those things, so I just stopped doing it. I stopped presenting, and I've always done little presentations here and there, grief and dying class at Fort Hayes, and small presentations. But it as the 20th anniversary started to approach me, I'm like, man, there isn't I'm always careful when I say I want to honor Blake, right? Because I want to keep his name alive. There is no better way. There's no way to better honor a child that you've lost than to have their name mentioned.
Mhm.
And so it just started to dawn on me about 6 months ago that I really wanted to write a book that had intentional lessons in it. So that's what started me down this path of creating the Living on the Razor's Edge, because I do believe when you hit those forks in the road, and I'm telling you, those forks in the road are in business, they're in relationships, they're in illness, they're everywhere. And that fork in the road for me became the razor's edge, and how we walk that razor's edge in business and life. And it's a slippery slope. We all walk a slippery slope, and we can all make decisions that take us different directions. And so that's how Living on the Razor's Edge was born. It's 12 chapters. A buddy of mine I gave him a copy last weekend. He read it in, I think, 2 nights, so it doesn't take a long time to read. And it's 12 intentional lessons at the end of every chapter, just like motor social is going to be, right? It's all about using your hands. It's all about getting the thoughts out of your head, using them, right? It's a collaboration of the heart, mind, and hands, just like the Birdhouse Project. And each chapter has a task. And the whole purpose of that task is to get you up and doing something. Holes in your bucket. The Birdhouse Project is in there. Pickup sticks is in there. I just making life's choices. The fork in the road you talk about. Man, I'm telling you, there are so many forks. And then how do we make a decision? And people say, well, people that are stuck, being stuck is a decision. So you are making a decision. So you're technically never stuck. You're always moving.
So, Kris, how hard was it to write this book? Because you're writing it from the heart. You're writing it from the healing aspect. And I'm not sure you ever heal from something like that. But you wrote it from your heart. How hard was that to do?
Oh, man. It was honestly pretty easy to write. I'll tell you what was hard was I gave a copy of it to my wife, because I'm telling you, there's a lot of people that can take this book and read it, but she knows me. And so she read it, and she told me she was proud of me. I think she gave me a little bit of a sugarcoat answer. And so a couple Friday nights ago, we were sitting in the hot tub one cold Friday night, and I said, so what do you really think?
Really think, yes.
What do you really think? And she poked some holes in my bucket, and that chapter's in there. And I'll be honest with you, I got quiet, and she knows when I get quiet. There's something going on. And I told her, no, I'm quiet because I'm watching the satellites go over. I sugarcoated that because I didn't want to tell her that what I was processing was that I'm going to throw this damn thing in the trash can. But what happened was, and then she felt horrible. But what happened is I went to bed, because this is what grief does, right? When you talk about grief, it wears you out, and grief work is so different than physical work. I woke up the next morning somewhat refreshed and pissed. And I said,
that's a dangerous combination, because you usually get things done at that point.
And that's what I did. I came into my office about 3:00 in the morning, and I started on chapter 1, and I started rereading it, which is the hard part, right? Because writing, it's easy, getting it out. But now I'm going to reread what I wrote and rethink what I wrote. And so as I read through that, I started kind of seeing where she was coming from on some things. And so I fixed a few things. I fixed a few confusing spots. I added some graphics and some photos to kind of, but in the end, right, that's why I go to Doug Williams when I take an idea to poke holes in my bucket to make it better. We all do that, and we got to have that person on our team. And in that instance, that was the best person to take that she had to read that book. And so I dug in, and I'm like, you know what? I'll show you. And in the birdhouse,
here we go.
Yeah. How do you feel, and how do you react to how you feel? That's so important.
Well, Kris, I'm excited to read your book too. Just knowing you and your background, how hard you work at things, whether it be your lake cabin that you just take and you take things that aren't very pretty and make them pretty. And in this case, the book, it touches your heart, and I think it'll touch others as well. Let's take a quick break, and we're going to come back and find out how the timing of the book, where people can go to get that, what they need to do, next steps for that. So hang there with us, Kris.
Okay.
Our guest, Kris Munsch, and we'll be back with more after this from Worth Wealth Management.
Since 1776, the United States of America continues to stand tall. It's been tested before, many times. Through grit and the ability to move forward, we create better tomorrows. We help our clients live their best lives to and through retirement. We make it easier. Thank you, Kansas. Worth Wealth Management, enhancing lives and strengthening families.
Welcome back to Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times. Our guest is Kris Munsch. And Kris, you have so many things to talk about, but probably the most important thing that I've seen you do is write this book. It's the 20th anniversary of the passing of your son. Was it the inspiration, or was it what was it that caused you to do this?
I think anniversaries are always important, and I know 20 years. I know from the 1 year, the 5 year, the different anniversaries I experienced. I knew this would be a big one, and so I am an active griever, right? And I think what I needed to do was I needed to do something with that grief coming up on this moment. I wanted to do something with it that was productive. I'm an optimist, and I'm like, I'm going to do something with this. I'm not going to slip off that razor's edge to the side that I don't want to go. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do something positive with it. And so I think that's what I did with it. That's what I'm doing with it. That's why my goal is to get that book out there before the December 23rd. I'm anxious to see. I just got back my wife and I got back from Virginia. I actually went out to Richmond, Virginia, and actually presented the concept of the book and what I'm doing at a conference. And from that, other opportunities are starting some podcasts, a trip to New York to be on a show, and possible keynote speech in Baltimore. And that's where I hope this goes.
Well, I hope so too, Kris, for you and really for Blake, because it does help others along the line. How does someone go about getting your book? I know we can see you and we wave at you when we go down the street and all this, but how do we go to get your book? Where will it be published?
It's going to be we're going to do it through Amazon. We're going to self-publish it. It's a control thing by me. I did talk to a couple of publishers, but ultimately what it came down to is I really wanted to have the ability to control the book, because the book comes with pickup sticks, right? The first book came with a birdhouse kit. The second book is going to come with pickup sticks. And so I have the ability through Amazon that when you order the book, it's also going to tag along some pickup sticks that come with it, because that's one of the chapters in there. And the pickup sticks are all encompassing in loss. They're encompassing in life. They're encompassing in business. When something happens, when you're at work and you're working and something bad happens, you drop your sticks. And how do you gather those sticks? And how do you gather everybody's timelines and make it all work? So Amazon will probably be the way I'll go.
Well, we'll look forward to that. And I know as you get those done, if you get some pre-copies, I'd love to have a copy to get started and see where you are. The pickup sticks make sense, because we all do that every day. Sometimes there's just a lot of sticks, and sometimes you just drop a couple. But will be interesting to see how that happens. So, Kris, thanks for joining us today. Of the programs we've done, this is probably the most personal, but it's also maybe one of the best in a sense of what it takes to be better. And when you live on that razor's edge, like those who are successful that go out there and try to be entrepreneurs and do things, it's a challenge every day. So thank you for sharing your story and joining us today.
I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. I love visiting with you.
Kris, thanks so much. And thanks to you for listening to our program today. It's Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times. We all have those challenges. How do you lead through them? Program's brought to you by Worth Wealth Management, where you can live with confidence. Thanks for listening. I'm Gary Shorman.
Thanks for joining us for Forward Ever, Leading in Challenging Times, presented by Worth Wealth Management. Join us right here next week for another episode with host Gary Shorman. Until then, remember to move forward ever, backward never.